Godzilla X Kong 3 Supernova. Still don't like the title. We've actually got a lot to talk about because it actually turns out this movie could be releasing in 2026, not 2027. Not confirmed or verified, but good sources are saying it could push forward. Why is this? I don't actually know, but I do kind of know. So the movie's wrapped now, so they have a very long time in post-production, which is needed because we all know they're going to wreck a complete different city. The monsters, the titans are basically VFX, and they need a hell of a long time, but it could move forward. But that's not the main topic, but we're going to talk about it. So, yo, what is good, YouTube? What's you here? If you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, Kaiju, MonsterVerse, pop culture-based content I try to deliver on a daily basis. You could subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and let me know. Do you think they should bring the movie forward? It's hard to bring it forward because 2026 is quite stacked. 2027 is also really stacked. So it's going to be hard irrespective of when they release this movie. So do you lads and ladettes remember when we got the first teaser and everyone was screaming Godzilla? We're finally getting Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. And I've been the Space Godzilla hype boy for literal years, but I was hesitant because I knew how hard it would be and how bad Toho is with allowing Legendary to use their characters. So it turns out I could be right again. Why do I say again? Because I've been over a lot of stuff that turned out to be true for Godzilla X Kong, where we had Mechagodzilla, and I said Mechagodzilla was villain, and he was. And I got a lot of stuff right also for Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. So there's a new rumor leak going around 4chan. Can't really confirm or verify it, but let's be honest, like I keep telling you lads and ladettes, information comes from 4chan and Reddit. But at the same time, there is no scoopers in the MonsterVerse, really, let's be honest. So it reads like this. I'm unable to share the full plot this early into the game. It's all right, lads, I've got you covered. But I'll let slip some details that are being kept less secretive than others. I've already addressed this multiple times. Feel free to take everything here said with a grain of salt. I'm unwilling to disclose anyone's identity involved with the film. I mean, I swear people put this to make themselves seem like they've got more validity. Godzilla X Kong Supernova Titan sized villain was originally going to be Space Godzilla, right? Just like I said. Was originally conceptualized as the villain for Supernova, but it proved too difficult and restrictive to properly incorporate his origin into the MonsterVerse as Toho constantly shot down pitches. Negotiations essentially came to a halt when his copyright license was deemed more trouble than it was worth for the script. If they couldn't bring him to life the way they originally wanted to, a new monster is a not so suitable workaround. Fans will recognize the nods in power sets. So what does this mean? It means everything I've told you before was true, but we're not getting Space Godzilla. I mean, I'm not saying this is 100% true, but I believe this because I know how, like, if you just look at the last 3-4 movies, they've not introduced many kaijus because it's so hard. It's not a money thing. Toho isn't just like a company that just wants people to throw money at them. It's just not worth it. So we're basically going to get Space Godzilla without getting Space Godzilla, essentially, which will annoy our fans. But like I said, that first teaser trailer didn't scream Space Godzilla. It screamed something may potentially be coming from outer space. So they've recently finished wrapping principal photography, but they most likely will do reshoot at some point in Utah. So this is doing the rounds on the internet, right? Is they were shooting, and the art on one of the Godzilla X Kong cameras appears to show a Titan with a lightning bolt through it, like a Griffin with Zeus through it, right? The working title was Zeus, and then you have the connection to the unreleased 1994 Godzilla movie that had a Griffin essentially as the villain, and the concept art, it was literally ready to go. The whole plot was there. But what's more interesting is it looks like there was a research facility in Utah, right? And then you look into the origin for this Griffin character, right? The Griffin first arrived in Utah, United States on a meteorite and begins to consume animals, right? On a gigantic level, right? And then essentially they get into a fight with Godzilla. So you see where I'm going. They're filming in Utah, that there's a Griffin on the camera. It's a pretty cool replacement, if you ask me. But also there will be no copyright issues, so they wouldn't need to pay Toho to use a character, and they could somewhat change attributes so it's similar to Space Godzilla. Now, I know this would annoy people, but at the same time, the idea of the Griffin being like the villain of it sounds like an awesome idea, but if you throw it in the fact it's from outer space, landing on a meteorite, it's pretty darn similar. So I guess you could say it's more a theory, but it's pretty much out there. Is we're going to get Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, but it's going to be Godzilla versus Griffin, which, I mean, yeah, it sounds... I mean, I won't lie, lads. If you compare it, it does sound pretty lame, but you can hypothesize that everything I've said before about Space Godzilla can just be transformed into a new Titan. Almost like what they did with Shimo, to a certain degree. Now, this might annoy people, but I always did say that it may have a licensing issue, and none of you lads believed me. Did you? No. So Matthew Monaday did say, he did hashtag Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, but like I say, never believe what an actor says, because just because he hashtagged that didn't mean anything. But the threat would still be coming from outer space. It's just going to have to work around the actual title in the sense of what Titan are we going to get, which is interesting. So this doesn't change any of the narrative at all. So Matthew Monaday says he joined Godzilla X Kong 3 because he wanted to meet Godzilla. Of course I did. Wouldn't you want to hang out with a 600-foot lizard? I mean, seriously. And I'd like to know if Godzilla is actually an egg-laying lizard. Is he teasing? Oh my God, did he just tease baby Godzilla? I don't know, but we pretty much are going to get Godzilla Jr. in this movie. We know that. So does it tease Griffin? I'm not sure. I mean, is Griffin more of a mythological creature, more than like a space kaiju? They could change the origin story massively. Now, I won't be the first person to say this by the time I post this video. I've been focusing more on the Spider-Man movie and Avengers Doomsday recently. Like I say, it's very hard for me to make Godzilla X Kong content because there isn't as much information going around. But it is cool that they are starting to shoot Godzilla -1 sequel 2 soon, which is going to be freaking awesome. Hope it's more like a horror story like the first one was. And we might be getting a sequel to Shin Godzilla. I do try to cover all the Godzilla content, the kaiju stuff, but it's hard for me. So when I can post a video, I will post a video. But am I annoyed about this news? Not really. I mean, it's always going to be a licensing issue. That's why, will we ever get Destroyer? I don't know. I think Toho is really ruining the MonsterVerse, if you ask me personally. Yeah, I'm a hype boy and I've wanted Space Godzilla for years. Now, I'm not saying 100% true that we're not going to ever get Space Godzilla, but this could be an interesting replacement, so to speak. But if it turns out that Griffin is the villain, I mean, it's somewhat similar, but it would be a cheaper version of Space Godzilla, if you ask me. They could change attributes, but the backstory is fairly similar. Or they could just change the characteristics and kind of make out that the Space Godzilla morphed into some variation of Griffin. If you like. I mean, I'm sure I won't be the only person that talks about Griffin. I mean, it's a theory, but you know me. It's kind of a leak at the same time because of the whole licensing stuff. So it's looking most likely that we're not going to get Space Godzilla. Sorry, lads. Not my fault, but I did tell you, lads, from the very first teaser that it probably isn't going to be Space Godzilla. So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the voice. Check us out on TikTok because I post MonsterVerse content over there. I'll post in more like Marvel, pretty much everything over there because it's so easy to make a TikTok compared to actually making a real video. No hate, just respectfully, it is. It takes 2 minutes compared to a lot longer to make a real video. So like always, guys, let us know. Do you believe the licensing issue is why we're not going to get Space Godzilla in Godzilla X Kong 3? Cool that they have finished filming. Also cool that the release date could be changing. But let's go over that briefly on why the release date could be changing. So, according to Bega, who is the director of the Valley Film Commission, has said they're probably eyeing to release Godzilla X Kong Supernova the fall of 2026. Which would not be a good idea. Why? Because you got Avengers Doomsday, you got Dune 2, Doom Messiah, allegedly releasing there. But the March 2027 release date still remains in place. So sure, because filming has finished in Utah, the movie could push forward. I mean, I wouldn't mind it coming out at the end of next year, but the end of next year, you've got to compete with Doom Messiah and you've got to compete with Avengers Doomsday. And also, I don't think they want it to release that closely to Godzilla -1 sequel as well. Or would they? But like I say, 2026 is already stacked. Supergirl, okay, that's minus that. But there's Supergirl, there's Spider-Man 4, there's Clayface, there's Godzilla -2, there's Avengers Doomsday, and there's Dune Messiah, there's Toy Story 5, there's a bunch of other movies. But 2027 stacked. Whenever this movie comes out, I think it's going to have a hard time, but it won't because it's got a core audience. So potentially moving forward, I don't care either way. Probably keep the 2027 release date. Well, we better. So like always, guys, I will catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.